Welcome to the Money Mastermind Show. Let's talk money.
And welcome to the Money Mastermind Show. How many of you out there set resolutions? Okay, now how many of you keep those resolutions and how long? Odds are they probably drop pretty quick, but that's okay because we're here to help you. Here's the Money Mastermind Show, and these are the folks that we're going to discuss and help you out. We have Kyle Prevost of youngandthrifty.ca, Miranda Marquit of Planting Money Seeds, Peter Anderson of Bible Money Matters, Tom Drake of the Canadian Finance Blog, and I am Glenn Craig of Free from Broke. So, resolutions. People love to make resolutions and goals, setting all sorts of different things, and we always hear about all these different lists, what they want to do, but you don't always hear about the success rate on that, and I think there's a reason. So, what's going on with these resolutions?
Well, let's start out here. Let's look at the actual numbers here. I have a survey from the San Diego Reader, and they found that of people that set resolutions or goals at the beginning of the year, after a half-hearted attempt, 88% of the resolutions were never achieved. So that's a pretty large number, 88%. And I guess maybe the question is, why are they not achieving those goals? Is it because they're bad goals? Are they setting too many goals? Are they not focused goals? So,
I think a big part of it is, people jump in around New Year's and they somehow feel like because everybody else is setting goals that they have to set goals, or they see these commercials on TV, set these goals, do this, join a gym, open up an account, do this, do that, and then they jump in on like this big bandwagon and like maybe their heart's not even in it, or, they're just kind of doing it and they're just bound to fail.
Well, I think part of it too, though, is you talked about making a list earlier, and I think a lot of people just sit down and they think making goals, making resolutions is all about just writing a list of things you want to do, and that's not really planning. That's not really setting goals. That's not a true attempt at it. That's just sitting down and writing a laundry list of things you wish you did, and that's not the same thing as setting real goals and making a real plan.
I mean, it's a start, though.
There was a college basketball coach, a pretty famous guy, Coach Knight, and he said, lots of people have the will to win. It's those who have the will to prepare to win. And every January when you walk into a gym, you can see why most people don't meet their goals, because they don't prepare, right? That gym that was empty in December, stocked full of people now, and they dive right in. They're doing crazy stuff. They're not even using the machines right. They're too embarrassed to talk to someone and ask how to do it. And they're trying to bench press like maybe what they did back in high school, or they're going to jump right into marathon training, and it doesn't always, but let's say a large percentage of the time it ends badly. So you got to set yourself up for success a little bit better than that.
Well, I can tell you January is my least favorite time to go to the gym. I go swimming, and I hate going in January because it's full. Everybody's there. I usually just take the month of January off. I come back in February when everybody's quit.
Gyms must love January, though. I mean, you pump those 12-month passes all the time, I bet. Like, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, how much of this goal setting that people do, I mean, Peter said, 88% fail. How much of it is not even, genuine? Like, you know what? Yeah, it's New Year's. I see a little pudge. What am I going to do about it? Or I see a commercial, and it's always something else that drives it, but not really, their own intrinsic need to do something.
Well, that's the problem with doing it at New Year's too, though, is it's this feeling of a fresh start. And really, if you're going to set a goal, you should set it when you're ready to set it. Like maybe you're not actually ready to tackle something until June or November or whenever.
Right. I mean, to go back to the gym thing, people join the gym in January, they quit by February, and then at some point in June, you start seeing the beach commercials. Go back to the gym and get beach ready in 2 weeks and all sorts of that. So all of a sudden, the goals come out again, and they don't last much longer either.
I thought you were going to say in June you finally see the people realizing that their auto pay has been going out to the gym membership they're not using, and now they're going to finally cancel it.
That might be the case too. So, I mean, we talked briefly about why maybe these goals aren't failing. People are failing, people maybe are just following a bandwagon and just making lists. What else is it that's failing them? I mean, you always hear about these experts saying they set goals. So there's something about goals that really does work, but why isn't it working for most people?
Well, I think part of it too is going along with the whole laundry list idea as well. You also have this vague idea of what you wish would happen. Oh, I wish I'd save more. Okay. I wish I'd have less debt. Okay. That doesn't have any sort of direction you can go. It's just this sort of vague wish that you're just sort of putting out there, and maybe, I don't know, maybe the universe will help you achieve that wish. Who knows?
I think it's a bit of a momentum thing too. If in the past you've set super ambitious goals and maybe for the right reasons, maybe for the wrong reasons, and you failed to meet them, you now have like no sort of goal stamina or goal endurance. You don't know what meeting goals and getting small wins can do for you. And I think that's why we see these super successful people. They're willing to put in whether it's a 14-hour day or whether it's the discipline of a savings plan or running if you're going to do a marathon. They know what those results will be, and the juice is worth the squeeze. But if you've never sort of reached that finish line, or it's been a long time since you've reached that finish line, it's hard to create that positive momentum.
That's a good point. Jay, go ahead, Peter.
I was going to say, as far as talking about people who are successful and why they're able to achieve their goals, Thomas Stanley of the Millionaire Next Door talks about that, and he talks about how millionaires are able to focus on a specific goal, not just too often when people start goal setting is they have a whole bunch of different goals out here all over the place. There's just kind of an amorphous bunch of goals that they're working towards. He said what millionaires do, though, is they are able to focus on a specific goal and actually set about achieving that goal. So the focus, laser-like focus on a specific goal that they can actually achieve is something that's really important.
Yeah, and I think back when I was setting goals for New Year's, I used to narrow it down to, one big money goal, one big personal growth goal, one big writing goal. And say, well, this is what I'm going to work on the whole year. This is what's most important, and this is what I'm going to focus on. And then once you have that one big goal, you can break it down into smaller goals, like Kyle was kind of talking about as well, where you have these little small wins along the way that help you keep motivated toward your bigger goal.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem too. People make these big, grandiose goals. Besides the fact that it's just kind of wishy-washy many times, but it's just something that it's going to take a lot to achieve. So, you want to, I'm going to lose a lot of weight. Oh, okay, but what does that mean? And when does it become successful? I'm going to save money. Well, when does that become an achievable goal? All right, so we talk, there's no real milestone there for people to say, okay, yeah, I'm doing it. There's no small wins. And I think people get really frustrated when they can't somehow get it, or they don't see themselves getting to their goal.
So that year-long, the year-long goal, not only is it kind of vague and you don't get those wins, but if you just have this one big goal for the year, it leaves a lot of room for procrastination. So you're hit mid-December and you still haven't actually done anything about it. Where if you have weekly or monthly goals, you're making these small steps of progress up and throughout the year.
I guess what I'm talking about, like the big goal, I guess that's kind of what I'm talking about, is you break it down so that you're working on it all year long in little steps with milestones, I guess.
I think the other thing that folks got to realize when they set these goals, especially at New Year's where everyone's setting them, is just I think admit to yourself that these are hard things. Like there's a massive marketing industry built up around the idea that saving to become a millionaire is easy. And that working out and becoming, like this model that all they do is work out, that's easy. And we're going to do like Beachbody. We had an episode there where we talked about different multi-level marketing. Beachbody's filling up my feed right now. And I think if people admit to themselves, okay, I'm making this goal, I'm doing all the good goal setting things, setting little milestones, it's still really hard. Like those are really hard things. It is not easy to fire up your metabolism. If you've been doing the couch thing for a while, And so give yourself a little bit of breathing room there. At the same time, hold yourself to the goal, but just understand that's going to be a massive life change for a lot of people.
Could it be also, a lot of people set a goal and then they set themselves up to a standard that's unrealistic? Like they don't realize the reality of what that standard's supposed to be. My neighbor next door goes on big vacation, so he must be saving and doing really well. So if I'm not saving a lot to do that, I'm a failure. Or if I'm not going to the gym for a month and all of a sudden I've got ripped abs, I must be a failure. We don't really know what we're supposed to expect with our goals.
Yeah, that's what it really comes down to is before you start setting goals, you really need to sit down and identify what your life values are, what's the important things in your life. Maybe having a high level of fitness isn't really that important to you, but having more free time with your kids is. You really need to kind of sit down and figure those things out and realize what's important to you, not what people are telling you is important.
So let's turn it around. What's been successful for you guys in setting goals? What has worked? What should people out there who are listening aim for if they want to set a successful goal?
As I start with Peter and SMART goals.
It does seem
that's Peter's thing. That's Peter's thing.
Talked about SMART goals without actually mentioning it. That people need to be specific. It has to be measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. I mean, these are things that we've just been talking about, and I think that's why maybe SMART goals are so useful. SMART, each one of them is a different word there, because a lot of people's goals and resolutions are lacking those pieces.
Yeah, I have a method that's maybe not the most healthy. It's not as cool as SMART goals. It's not as business techy. If you're a former athlete, I don't think I can safely call myself an athlete anymore. But if you're a former athlete, I'm all about competition. If I can get into a competition with my brother, a friend, like friendly, I'm not, trash talking this guy. But if you can somehow make it into hold yourself accountable through competition a little bit. Again, I know this isn't everyone's cup of tea, so I'm not saying it'll work for everyone, or even if it's sort of mentally healthy or emotionally healthy, but it works in my case.
Yeah, somebody to edge you on, or sometimes just a support group. Have somebody in there with you, so this way what your goal is doing, and you go, hey, you're doing this well, I could get up to there too.
Yeah, and even if it isn't competition in that sense, you can still have your goals and share them with somebody to keep you accountable. Maybe you're just talking with somebody at work and say, hey, I'm working out and losing weight. Maybe I can kind of tell you about that, and you can help me stay accountable with that while I'm at work here or whatever. Just find a buddy you can buddy up with and just talk about it, even if you're not competing against each other.
That accountability is a big thing too, right? Because, you got to be on the line for it for some reason. You have to have somebody that's going to say, hey, where are you with that? Here's where I am. What are you doing? Or that, I don't know how much of it is a shame factor, but certainly the competition could play into that. Like you've done this. Oh well, I got to catch up and I got to do this also. What else works?
Similar to
saying, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Similar to accountability, something I found is even if you're not telling anybody about your goal, write it down and put it somewhere where you'll see it. If it's important enough to you, if it's a work goal, put it by your desk kind of thing. If it's about eating, put it by the fridge because then you're going to get those reminders that just remind you when you really need it about what your goal really was.
Yeah,
you just said exactly what I was going to say, Tom. Write the goal down, otherwise it'll disappear.
But we did talk about how writing these things down, like it being wishy-washy, is not enough. But I do think like that first step, that intention, like this is what I want to do, and that you put it somewhere, it kind of sets your mind up and does something with the neurons in there and says, this is where we're going to head. Maybe like every time you open that fridge, it's like that, okay, that message is there. Maybe we shouldn't be reaching for this, whatever that's in there.
Well, for me, a lot of the time what helps is breaking it down. A few years ago when I decided I wanted to max out my Roth IRA contributions each year, I knew that I wouldn't be able to all of a sudden in January flip a switch and be able to max it out. And so breaking it down and saying, okay, what if I just start by putting $50 extra a month and add that $50 extra a month to my contributions, get comfortable with that. And while I'm doing that, I can look for other ways to either earn more money or cut back on non-essentials that I don't care about. And after a couple of months, I can add another 50 to that. So now I'm up to $100 extra and spend the whole year just sort of working toward building up to that point where now I finally, every year, I max out my Roth IRA, and I do it without having to worry about it because I built up slowly. But with a lot of, and especially with money goals, a lot of the time you're like, oh, well, I want to max this out, or I want to pay down all this debt. And you're like, well, in order to reach my debt pay down goal, I need to put $200 a month toward paying off my debt. Most of us can't just one morning wake up the next day and say, oh, well, this month is going to be the month. And if you start out by saying, I'm going to step it up, I'm going to start out with $50 a month, and then I'll step it up another $20 a month after I'm comfortable with that, and just sort of move forward. To me, that sort of progression is what helps keep me going, is when I can say it's a progression. And it works the same with fitness goals. Most of us aren't going to, like what Kyle was talking about, it's like, oh, I'm fired up now. And you run into the gym and you're like, I'm going to work out for an hour. And yeah, right. You're going to kill yourself if you try and work out for an hour. And you're not going to be able to sustain that every day if that's what you start with. But if you start with saying, hey, I'm going to work out for 15 minutes every day this week, and then next week I'm going to work out for 20 minutes every day, and the week after that I'll work out for 30 minutes every day, you start building up to it, and it starts becoming more manageable.
It almost sounded like for a second there that it wasn't even so much goals that you're trying to do, but just build up new habits.
Yeah, and really for me that's what it is. I guess maybe pinpointing that is, hey, what habit do I want this year? And then I'm going to spend the whole year working on building up to it, rather than saying I got to have this specific goal.
Right, like if you're doing something enough, it just becomes this natural part of what you're doing. It's no longer this goal. If your goal is to make sure that you max out your 401k, or that you're putting so much money away, you build that habit where maybe, like you say, you don't put $500 away a month. You can't do that. But if I could just put $5 a week away, and then that just becomes normal. Like that, you just have that automatic transfer, and then that's your habit. It's always going to happen. And then the next goal is that you build another habit there.
Right, yeah, and that's the thing is once you're used to it and it becomes part of your daily routine, then you can step it up and take it up to that next level and make it so it's a little bit bigger. Because one of the problems that you have, especially when you start automating, and especially when you're talking about retirement stuff, is you have it automated and you keep doing it, and pretty soon you've got extra income, you've had a couple raises, you've had some bonuses, but you haven't put any of that toward your retirement because you're just kind of used to it. So part of what I do is I have to remind myself. I set little reminders so that every few months I go back and say, oh, well, can I step it up now? Because it's really important to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Finish your thought.
Well, I was going to say, like Kyle had mentioned, the small wins, right? Mm-hmm. And that it's hard, right? You can't just do everything at once. And sometimes being realistic and going, you know what, I'm not a person who saves money. I've been bad at it, so I'm not going to magically just put $2,000 in the bank. That's not going to happen, right? Maybe I'm bad at that. And there's probably a reason why people say they want to save more. But it might be okay to just say, I'm just going to save $5. I'm going to do something that's not going to kill me, but I know I can do it, and I'm going to achieve it. And then once I have that and I've done it, I could get to the next step. Like if you have a 401k, people go, oh, I can't afford to put 12% into it, right? Well, who could just dump that type of money? But click it onto 1%. Is that really going to make a big difference in your paycheck? It might not be as big a dent as you think. And if you could do that and live with that, after a couple months, you go, okay, let me try 2% now. Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying, if you put nothing in it, start with something that really is manageable, and then you could see, it doesn't take so much effort to do.
Yeah, I was along those same lines. I think I was thinking kind of the same thing. I like to be more successful. I like to set different goals for different time periods. So I'll have immediate goals, things that I can do right away, starting the next day. I'll have short-term goals for a month away or a couple weeks away, and I'll have long-term goals as well. And with those immediate goals, you can kind of have some quick wins right away. If you're trying to lose weight or something, you say, my immediate goal is tomorrow morning to get up at 6 a.m. and work out, and that can be kind of a quick win every single day, and kind of help build some confidence. And then maybe a short-term goal, I want to be able to run 10 minutes without stopping by a month from now or something. So, I'll set different levels of goals within the same overall large goal, and that kind of helps you to have some success over time and be more successful over the long term.
And I think looking at your goal, thinking a little bit outside the box about how you want to get there sometimes can help too. If your goal is to help build yourself a retirement savings account or a down payment on a home, perhaps saving, you haven't been as successful at saving. Okay, we can try and get there. Perhaps it'll be better if you're more the entrepreneurial type. So see if you can't launch something on the side. See if you can't work a few more hours at your job or maybe get a promotion, and then that's built in because you already know your lifestyle. You can make do with what you already have. So that's a different sort of roundabout way of getting to that goal. Or maybe if working out isn't your thing, you're going to slowly build that up, but you're great at prepping food ahead of time. So you're eating more salads and stuff, whatever the case may be, right? There's always multiple ways, and if you try and do everything, it's going to come. It probably will come down around you, but there's sort of different paths, or you can play to your strengths a little bit more that way.
Yeah, it's like, I look at my eating habits now, and if I had thought about doing what I do now eating-wise 20 years ago even, I would laugh at myself, right? But I've done all sorts of little things, okay, you know what, I'm going to cut out the Fruit Loops and see if I can have cornflakes, just so that I don't have as much sugar. Maybe I just won't have as much soda. But each one, piece by piece, I never did anything all together. And I'm by no means saying I'm super healthy, but it's like little things that once you do it, it becomes natural, and then you can just go on to the next thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, to try and do one thing at a time, because too often we look at our laundry list of everything that we want to do and that we wish we could change, and we just look at that and say, okay, we're going to go all of it now. And like Kyle said, most of the time it's just going to come falling right down around you, and then you'll be super upset that it didn't work out, and then you'll feel like you can't do anything and whatever. And
isn't that funny too also, where like a lot of times your goal ends up rebounding badly? Like, I'm going to go on a diet, and then you just forget it, and then you just hit the quart of ice cream and you're done. So you're trying to save money, and you're like, I just can't do this anymore, and all of a sudden, your next credit card bill is like off the charts because you just can't handle it anymore. So there's like that part too, and then you go, I have goals, they don't work, and you never do it again.
And that's one of the big problems with goals that involve deprivation, right? Like, if you have a goal that involves deprivation, that's the worst. Whether it's, I'm not going to spend money on this anymore, I'm going to stop eating this thing anymore. And that's my big problem with food. So I get to the point where I'm like, I don't care anymore, weekend binge. And so to combat that now, I'm like, okay, I've got my dark chocolate, and then I can have a couple squares, like I can have a dark square of dark chocolate after lunch, and I can have a little treat after dinner. And that keeps me able to say, okay, it means I'm probably not losing weight as fast as I'd like, but it keeps me from binging. So, and that's what matters.
But it doesn't have it doesn't have to be super fast either. Like you say, maybe not as fast as you like, but you can still get there by setting pieces where maybe you're giving yourself support, right? Right. Or like you said, deprivation. Maybe I can't always try to live like a Spartan or a monk and not ever spend money. Like, okay, you know what? If I could do this here, then I get to do this.
Right.
And you build in like that little reward system into what you're doing.
I'm just picturing Glenn like kicking some guy into a pit right now as a Spartan.
Glenn could probably do that. He does martial arts,
Buying an LED TV. I've had enough. What else about goals? What can we tell people out there as far as what they need to do? We're hit.
Good thing to do is to review your goals at regular intervals. Don't just set goals, write them down, and then put them in your drawer. Sit down and actually think about where you are in achieving those goals throughout the year. It can be easy to kind of just let the goals slide away as the year goes on and then just forget about them. But make a note to yourself to actually sit down once a month or however often you do it and actually look at your goals and look at where you are in achieving them and think again about where you want to be.
I really like that because I think it's okay to adjust your goals too, right? Or go, you know what? I'm going to let this one go and move to something else. Like, it's okay. It's not working. Maybe this isn't really where I need to go with this, right? Without feeling like you're a failure or just, you could readjust it. That's okay.
Yeah. And along with that, you can always start again. There's no reason to, there's no reason to sit here and say, oh, well, I messed up today. Looks like I'm done for the whole year. There's no reason to do that. You can start again tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I just wait till my birthday and then start over, and then a month later, then I'm done for the year. No. That's usually the other time when you start making all these life decisions, right? You hit that other age and you go, okay, now I have to do this. But so let's wrap up and kind of sum up what we're talking about for goals. So, Tom, what's your final word on goals and resolutions?
We talked a lot about sort of how not to screw up on your goals, but really, if you do it, don't beat yourself up too much, because if you made some progress, it's still better than sort of never trying. Like if you stop smoking for a month, or if you saved up money for 2 months, like it's still better than just deciding I'm not even going to bother. so maybe after that failure, you got to look at how to sort of reset, but certainly don't beat yourself up for trying to improve yourself.
Peter, what's your final word?
Final word is just to make reasonable goals that you can actually achieve, because I think far too often people set these amazing grand goals that, I'm going to lose 150 pounds this year, or whatever the case may be, and they get 1 or 2 months into the year and they realize they're never going to achieve the goal that they set, and they just give up. So make sure your goals are actually reasonable, things that you can achieve and that you can do in the time frame that you're setting for yourself.
Miranda, your final word on goals and resolutions?
Yeah, just kind of going along with what Peter and Tom said, I think it's more about progress and more about baby steps, and what you mentioned earlier in the episode as well about creating new habits. So figure out why you're making your goals, and then kind of move that direction and work on progress and work on building on it a little bit at a time.
And Kyle, what's your final word on goals and resolutions?
Try really, really hard to notice even a little bit of progress that you're making, and try really hard to notice it, whether it's your significant other, your support group. Try really hard to notice even the smallest of progress, especially right away in the ballgame when you're trying to meet your goals. That positive reinforcement cycle is really powerful once it gets started, but it can be difficult to sort of get going if you're not used to it.
This has all been great information, and then I hope people out there that are listening and watching can really take something away from that. And if you have anything to add, come to the site, throw it in a comment. We definitely want to add to this. So for everybody out there, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next week, be good with your money.
Thanks for joining us on the Money Mastermind Show. Get more information at moneymastermindshow.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Google+.